Hi everyone,
Good evening and welcome.
and who is our guest?
I have no idea.
Oh, not this again.
I know, but one thing I do know is it's Codes of the Unknown.
Oh yeah. Good evening and welcome. Deborah cannot make it today, so we have a from over the seas co-host of Michael Kopf, who literally just got in from his shenanigans of Friday and said that he'll step in and help me out. So thank you, Michael, for joining.
Thank you for asking.
And we have the wonderful another Michael, which is going to make it even more confusing for everyone, Michael E. Boyd. So I'll just do a little introduction and then we'll go from there. So Michael E. Boyd is a physicist, an engineer and an archaeologist. In 1985, he received his Bachelor of Science degree in physics at UCSB. He then began his career as an engineer/scientist, starting in 1982 at Hughes Aircraft Company in Santa Barbara Research Center. So thank you, Michael, and thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
Glad to be here.
Yes. So what did you actually do at the research center? What was your main job?
So I was what was called a senior development engineer, and I manufactured infrared detectors for that were used in military and satellite components, space level components. Some of the sensors went into things like a TOWS missile or M1 tank sites. It also there were infrared sensors that were built for telescopes in Hawaii, for example, and some of the satellites that I worked on are GOES, Geosynchronous Orbiting Environmental Satellite. That's your weather satellite that you see on the evening news. And and then another was called Landsat. And essentially, when you look on Google Earth, you're looking at satellite data from those satellites that were once classified information, and over time they declassified the data, and that's why you can see images from outer space now on your cell phone.
Ah,
That's super cool.
That's I worked there for about 10 years, and then I got laid off, and I had to move to from Santa Barbara, from a place called Goleta, California, to Northern California, Sunnyvale, California, where I worked as an environmental test engineer at a company that did environmental testing on military and space level components. And then I worked for telecommunication companies for a while, picking components for them. And then I worked in the hard disk drive industry for a while. In 98, I was working for a company that manufactured hard disk drive test equipment. And I discovered this stuff called gravitomagnetism, and on the surface of a spinning hard disk. And what it was is nanogravity. And I have 3 patents on the world's first gravitational rectifier, or a gravity diode is essentially what it is. It's equivalent to an electrical diode, but it uses gravitation instead.
Right.
And so I that's basically where I'm at now. In 2008, I lost my engineering job, and I had to change careers and became an archaeologist. Went to school and got an anthropology degree and a construction management degree, and basically I do this for fun.
Why not?
I when I went back to community college, I'd like sign up for 5 classes and then drop maybe all of them but one, because I didn't like the teacher, or it didn't look like I was going to get an A.
Fair enough.
So it's like a lot funner going back than when it was when I went the first time and got my physics degree. It was like, oh my God, I got to get a career, right? Now I just like to learn. And, you know, I've been studying UFOs, or UAPs as they're called now. And I know like about the Tic Tac UAP, a bunch of, I've looked at the infrared data and I can interpret it. And like I said before the broadcast, that I have had some personal experiences with photographic evidence of ghosts, that kind of thing. So I believe in, you know, life after death, or so-called consciousness. And I gave you a little short video where basically it gives my philosophy on what life is. We're all the same. We're all identical. We're all the same life.
So do you think
it's compassion in evidence? That's what we go by.
Do you think you'd enjoy it as much if you was doing it as a full-time job?
Probably not.
No.
No, it's a lot funner when you don't get paid for something. Like I have this other hobby. I like to sue the government, and I have a nonprofit that does that, and I've won a few times. And when you sue in the government, they're in a big hurry. I want to go slow, because a politician and a bureaucrat have a short shelf life, if you know what I mean. But a lawsuit can last a decade, no problem. It's on their permanent record, you might say.
Yeah.
But so I don't get paid anything. I never get money out of it. It costs money, right? Like most hobbies.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they your certificates behind for each time you've been successful in suing the government?
Well, I was elected once. I was elected to a couple of offices, and that's when I realized that most politicians were crooks. And they weren't doing it for helping you or me. They were doing it to make a buck.
Yeah, line their own pockets.
Right. So then I discovered that lawsuits are a lot cheaper than running for office.
Fair enough.
And in America, it's considered protected free speech under the First Amendment. It's called right. It's called the right to petition.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have that over there. With a new king and all that, man, you guys.
Yeah.
I was looking at that. You don't know nothing.
You change it every day, eh? Everything changes. If it doesn't suit them, we'll bring this into law now. We'll put that through Parliament, and yeah, I just don't watch it. Don't watch the TV with politics and all that. Just stay well away from it.
In the States here, we consider politics a contact sport.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Contact sport, and who can outpay the other one.
Yeah. Well, we'll send Boris over.
That's why all the reality stars are politicians.
Yeah. Oh, it's a bit different. Most of our reality stars they're not even famous. They're famous for being famous, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. Michael K. Have you got any questions before we move on?
I was just curious when you said you did the laser sighting for like the M1 tanks. Did you ever get to get in the tanks and like test it out?
No, the closest I ever got was in when was it? I can't remember. It was a long time ago. It was like 80s or something when they recommissioned the battleship New Jersey in Long Beach. My ma, she worked for the Navy. She was a budget analyst, looked for those cost overruns, and she brought the battleship in under budget by 50 million. So they gave her and the family a trip to watch the christening. So I got to see some of the equipment that I didn't actually get up and see the missile, for example. I could see where the missile was, basically.
Right.
And so they use this for this thing called a phalanx, which is like a machine gun. I think it shoots uranium tip bullets or something. And basically, I never got into any tanks, but I did get to go on some of the naval naval vessel. So, but most of the time I didn't. All I looked at was the chip, essentially. Right. Made sure everything worked on the chip. Like I remember working on a job where they were going to put up in a satellite, and I was working overtime, and I had to test like 200 or so of these little infrared sensor arrays and find the perfect one. And when that was the one they were going to put into the spacecraft. And then when I got done, I was all stoked. I found the perfect one, right? They said, okay, now you got to go back and find the next most perfect one. That was in case it blew up on the launch pad, right? But like I said, that when I worked there were some super top secret stuff that they had there, and the only thing that I could find that was secret about is it didn't work.
Yeah. Don't talk about that. It's broke.
What's your favorite paranormal photo?
So whenever the government says, well, especially like now, I don't know if you heard recently, those 3 UAP videos that the government authenticated. The Tic Tac, the gimbal, and the Go Fast. Well, now they're backtracking and saying it's all super top secret again, right?
Yeah, they've been debugged.
So, but I'm wondering if the secret is they don't want anyone to know their stuff don't work.
It makes sense, wouldn't it?
It kind of makes sense. They wouldn't want someone to know that, wouldn't you think?
Oh yeah, especially like other countries that are not friends with the US and what have you. Without naming. Do we
even have friends anymore?
But if you think about it, the cat's out of the bag. It's like, okay, what are you going to do? Put the cat back in the bag? Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
so what was the most interesting thing that you worked on?
Probably this job I had working on gravitomagnetism when I found gravitomagnetism. So what was happening there is in your computer, there's this thing called a hard disk assembly. and it has this disc that spins around really fast, and then it has this little arm that sits over the top of it, and on the end of this little arm, it's called an actuator arm. It moves back and forth. Is that it has these electronics. It has a little tiny magnetic coil, and that writes a signal. It writes a magnetic signal on the surface of the disc as it's spinning. It's called a right head. And then next to it is this little sensor called a GMR, for giant magnetoresistor, and that's the read head. Well, that's the secret sauce of my invention. So I was making these. I was working on this optical thing that basically points a laser beam down at the disc, and as it spins, it looks for light to find little dots or bumps or little pits on the surface of the disc. And so I designed a little calibration disc, I called it, and it had a row of little square nano bumps and nano pits along a radius. So, and I fabricated that in a lab with a thing called a focused ion beam, which is an electron microscope, but it shoots an ion instead. And so it makes a little square pattern, and these are like real tiny, like in 10 to the minus 6 meter units. Okay, like it's called a micrometer. Okay. And so it was like 40 micrometer square, 10 micrometer, 4, 2, and 1. And so basically what I did is I took that disc and I put it on the spin stand, which simulates your disk drive. And I put that GMR sensor over it. And that's when I discovered gravitomagnetism, this nanogravity. Now I put on the back of the little head. The little head sits on this thing called a slider because it looks kind of like a sled, and so this I put on the back of the slider. I put a little piezoelectric crystal, and what that is if you tap the crystal, it puts out a voltage. So they use that to measure physical forces. You know, like an accelerometer, or they have this on, you put this, if you're going to drop something, you put one of these on the back of your sample, and then you drop it, and it measures the actual force, physical force that goes onto the object. So I put the piezoelectric crystal on the back of my head slider, and I noticed, unlike your magnetic data written on your disk, when you went over one of these little nano bumps or nano pits, it wiggled the head slider. So it was an actual physical force. And then I discovered that the bumps actually pulled down, and that the pits actually had a push force. So that's what so it's like anti-gravity, but it's not like normal gravity. Normal gravity, you know, drops at a constant rate, but anti-gravity's balloon-like. Think of a balloon. It's pushing back up, and it's only strong at the membrane. Follow? And I don't know if you guys ever looked at the Tic Tac video for the Nimitz Tic Tac, but if you at some point want to talk about that in the future, I'd be happy to. But in the video, there's this dark balloon over the top of the Tic Tac when it's not moving. And that's the anti-gravity balloon, because you see, this is a natural. It's what it's using isn't. It's new tech. I don't call it high tech. I call it new tech. It's just something that I discovered in 1998. Okay, so and that's what my patents are on. And it's so basically gravitational energy. Permeates everything. So I mean, that's so even outer space. In outer space, there's gravity, but it's a pushy kind of gravity. It's pushing back.
I'm just curious. Do you think that'll ever be able to be used like a drive system or like in craft?
Well, my hypothesis is that's what the government basically stole my invention.
I don't think they would do that.
It's not aliens at all. It's Earthlings.
Yeah, they're the ones you want to watch out for,
right?
Yeah.
They're the ones that are up to no good.
Well, and when we look at when you show that Gray video, that guy's an Earthling too. He's just from our future.
Yeah.
So, and then there's like from the past, there's a type of what we call reptilians. Hypothetically, they're in charge of the world's governments and the banks.
Yeah.
But they're just time travelers from the past. But they're all Earthlings.
Right. Well, do you want me
how
to
do
play?
you think that time travel works?
Well, you see, that's the other thing I found with my invention is I actually have data that shows. So what happens with the expanded space-time is things get blue shifted, and that means you're time traveling to the future. Okay, and when and condensed denser space-time. So like the Earth, you have a GPS on your cell phone.
Yeah.
Up in outer space, there's a satellite. The time goes faster in outer space than it does on the surface of the Earth because of space-time is denser, basically the closer you get to matter.
Yeah.
And so time actually slows down. So that's why I say time travel to the past. So now you'll see UAPs that are going out, and those are going to the future. And then you'll see like UAPs where they're going down volcanoes and stuff.
Right.
That's time travel to the past.
Right.
Okay, so those are them reptilians going home.
Yeah. Right. Do you want me to
some
play?
Great memes for this?
Yeah. We'll make some. We'll make some over the weekend and send them out to everyone.
I'll send you it, Andy. I'll message it to you. You'll enjoy them.
Cool. So, right. I'm gonna play this Gray video.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So give me 1 second. I'll do it this way. There we go.
What about morality? What are you basing your morality on? I see. Okay, illuminate us. What happens when we die? Okay, so let me get this straight. There's no death, and we all experience each other's lives, right?
So yeah, that's a pretty deep thought there by the Gray. Now let's think about this. Are either of you two married?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not married, but I am about to start dating someone.
Oh, okay. Well,
he's going to change your mind now.
You and her are the same life. You might want to think about that before you have sex. And so, I mean, think about it. What other conundrums would this create? It makes the easy part, the first part, compassion and evidence. Okay.
Yeah.
It's easier to tolerate and love someone if you think you're talking to yourself.
I don't know. I'm a pretty hard critic on myself, so I might be better off going the other way.
No, well, I agree with myself quite a lot, so I think it'd be good for me.
Well, there you go. So
isn't that kind of cheating though, Andy, to argue with yourself?
Yeah, because then one of me will give up, and then the other me will win. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which one.
But that
Win,
leads us
win.
to the concept of karmic delusions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what not the my hypothesis is that, like, back in anthropology we learned about what's called the agricultural revolution. Happened
Right.
about 10,000 years ago, supposedly, and essentially what happened is, before that we were hunter gatherers, and we depended on each other for survival. And so society and cultures were more egalitarian back then. And then what happened is, when they got agriculture, then we had people that had stuff, and we had people who didn't have his stuff. And that led to what I call social stratification, and the normalizing of violence to for basically status, essentially, where we had the haves and the have-nots, and then we stigmatize the have-nots, and basically gave extra benefits to the haves, and it became where your stuff was more important than your well-being.
Yeah.
And that concept's basically what I call domination culture. And basically that's where we have this reward punishment system. Now, when we're little kids, naturally we're giving and we're compassionate to each other. Kind of like if you have a cat and it has kittens, and the mom goes away, the kittens will all gather around each other and take care of each other. Okay. The same thing happens with toddlers. If you have toddlers that have been alone, and one of the toddlers hasn't been alone, and the mom walks off and leaves, the one toddler that's not used to being alone will start crying, and the other toddlers will get compassion and hold it and get it to, because humans are naturally giving, and that's what I call compassion culture. Now, what happens is, when we're little kids, we learn from our parents how they deal with stress and problems, and they learned it from their parents, and so on. And this is what they call it intergenerational trauma. It's like passed on from generation to generation.
Yeah.
And so what this concept is called is nonviolent communication. And basically what it is everybody has the same basic needs and feelings. We're all the same, just like the Gray said. We're all the same life. And if we look at it that way, then it's the diversity of opinion is a wonderful thing. Then we want people to talk about different views, instead of a view of I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm trying to come from with the whole concept of UAPs, and the issue of consciousness, and the issue of what happens when you die. Death is a human construction, just like race and gender, like the Gray was talking about. It's something we made up.
Yeah.
Right. So and basically, it's part of this domination culture that they use. They basically teach us when we're little kids. They teach us how to enjoy violence. It started when I was a little kid watching Bugs Bunny and early cartoons, where basically it's all about violence, and they get like right up to the point where someone's gonna get hurt, and then they cut to the commercial, and basically that's how they teach you. And then they do it with games,
right?
You know, a
Yeah.
lot of online. It's basically basically teaching you how to enjoy violence, and you
Yeah.
can see that in
Oh,
some
yeah.
of what's happened with the military. You know, they've turned it into war into a game. And that's
Yeah.
where we're at right now.
Yeah, poor Wile E. Coyote.
You
I
know,
know.
He got so beaten up all the time.
but it's true. I mean, we learn to enjoy violence, and
The one thing
of,
I never understood about the Coyote was he had all these means of getting these products, but he would never order food.
well, this is
Yeah.
before Uber Eats.
Yeah.
Like he would get in the mail all these nice little trinkets and gadgets and gizmos, and he's like, I'm just so hungry. And he's like, you never thought to have food delivered?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
There's no funny.
he could have got a nice chicken.
Yeah.
I was going to say there's no fun in ordering from Uber, but there definitely is.
Say again, I didn't catch that, Andy.
I said there's no fun in ordering food online. That's what I was going to say.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
I thought about it. I thought, well, there is, because when it turns up, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, do you guys have any questions or?
Yes.
I'm kind of curious. What's your theory behind why all of a sudden the government's changed the UFO to UAP? Because isn't it basically the same thing except different lettering?
Well, it's stigma. It has to do with stigma and, like I said, cultural violence. Basically, we stigmatize people that are aware of these other phenomena. And I think it applies equally to people that are dealing with ghosts, consciousness, sex. I think there's a lot of stigma in our cultures about sex, for example, if you think about it. So it's just cultural constructs. Whereas one of the things I did is I did this essay for the Bigelow Institute for Consciousness Studies last year.
Yeah.
And in there, part of it, I read three books: the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Mayan Book of the Dead, and the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And the Mayan Book of the Dead and the Egyptian Book of the Dead, they both had the same dominance culture themes of, for example, in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, you're born and die every day, and you're judged every day. And then when you die, then you're judged again a final time, and the god Osiris weighs your heart against a feather. And if you're found wanting, it's fed to a crocodile god. So you're dead. You're judged. But the Tibetan Book of the Dead is interesting because nirvana is the void, nothingness. So when you make it over to the other side, there's nothingness. But they have like different practices that they go through. The family goes through, and supposedly the deceased person goes through. And on the third day, they have you have to before you can go over, you have to deal with what's called karmic delusions. And karma is basically this reward punishment, the dominance culture stuff. And delusions are what it says. There's stuff we have delusions. So basically you can't get over to the other side unless you deal with your cultural BS. Right? And so my hypothesis is that's what ghosts are. Ghosts are people that didn't deal with their cultural BS. Their karmic delusions are preventing them from crossing over to the other side.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but basically, what I call it is it's a cosmic recycling program. When you die, you're recycled until you make it over to the void. You keep recycling, and then every so often someone gets stuck in the garbage disposal.
That'd be
And that's how it goes. And as my plumber friend said, you know, they shouldn't have called it a garbage disposal. You can't put your garbage down there.
Yeah, no.
He said, actually, you don't put anything in your garbage disposal.
Yeah.
Well, that's how the cosmic garbage disposal works too, unfortunately.
No, cheers for that. Right, we do have some questions from the viewers.
Okay.
So, do you start with these?
Go for it.
This is one from Rick Allen. Does Michael Boyd believe he knows the end game of the aliens?
Well, I don't. First, I think it's not very likely that there are aliens. Depends on what you mean by alien, obviously. I think that there are what are called interdimensionals, essentially people that are coming from the past or the future, and they're all in the space-time continuum of Earth in our solar system. So that's basically, and there is no end game. As I said, it's a recycling program. It just goes over and over and over. It's kind of like that movie Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that would be a nightmare.
No, cheers for that. Sorry, I just got a couple of to mark up. Right, got another question from Nickname. Okay. She wants to know: do you know Bob Lazar, and what are his thoughts on his? What are your thoughts on his role? Sorry,
I know who he is. I don't know is the best thing I can say. I think that he's certainly had a big effect over the subject matter of UFOs. As far as his observations about the stuff at Area 51, as I said earlier, the fact that he's talking about working stuff makes me a little uncomfortable because of my own personal experiences with the government is that things don't work. And that it's kind
got
of
the working ones.
That's what they're trying to hide.
He sent you all the dodgy ones that don't work. That's what it is. That's a secret agenda.
Behind the one that works.
As I said with the Wizard of Oz, don't look at the man behind the curtain.
Keep the one that works, send out all the
others. What they don't tell you is behind the curtain's another curtain, and then there's another curtain.
Now, whether one of those is an alien, that's a good question.
Right. We've got quite a few questions. So do you want to do these?
Yeah, just keep going.
Hopefully, we'll keep going, and then we should get a few more in the second half as well. Got another one here from Rick Allen. Has Michael had any experiences?
Well, I was on the Experiencer Network a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, but the fact that I saw photographic evidence of ghosts would suggest that I am an experiencer then.
Yeah. So what's your strangest experience? Oh, sorry. I'll put this up because Deborah's asked the same question. What's Michael's most scary paranormal experience? Pretty much the same question.
Well, I didn't have a scary one because see, scary to me, that's so basically when we're talking about feelings, there's different feelings like
Yeah.
anger and fear. Those are feelings that you feel in your head because you
Yeah.
think about it too much. If you think about it too much, it actually gives you a headache. Okay. But then there's
Yeah.
other feelings like love and compassion. They come from your heart.
And
Okay.
they still give you a headache.
Well, it depends, like everything else, right? But it's something that compassion and love come from your heart. So my experience was actually a compassion experience. My
Yeah.
my wife was working. She's an archaeologist too. She was helped. She made adobe bricks that they went into the repair of an old adobe, two-story adobe south of me called the Castro adobe. And after they had restored it, they had like an open house, and I went back, and it was like March of 2014, and I had my cell phone on, and my cell phone had a night vision option, so
Oh yeah.
I put it on the night vision, and I walked around and started taking pictures in the room. And in the up on the second story, there was this room, and I went in there, and I kind of felt like something was going on, and so I took a couple of pictures, and then when I got home, I looked at the pictures, and one of them had a picture of a face of a ghost,
Oh,
and
Wow.
it was a woman's face, which I
yeah.
subsequently found a woman that one of the owners who owned all the land. Her name was Martina Castro. It looked like her face. So
Yeah.
I went back to this Adobe 6 months later, and I went up there, and this time I put my flash on, and so I took some pictures, took 4 pictures, and the first picture I saw a streaking orb over in one corner coming down
Yeah.
like this, and basically I could, because I knew my frame speed and everything, I calculated it was going about 350 miles an hour.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't a bug. And then I took a second picture, and coming back from the direction that it went was a big long streak of green light.
Yeah.
And then I took a third and a fourth picture, and it was all gone.
Right.
So and I did a signed affidavit and everything for the essay contest for Bigelow Institute. But essentially that's and what was cool about it was, and why I think it was compassion, and I felt love, I felt happy. Other people went there totally independent from this, and they did a YouTube video where they were talking about they heard the ghost, and they heard her laughing, and that the ghost touched them. Some people were touched by the ghost, but they felt happy. It was a happy ghost. They said it was a happy ghost. And you see, what I think the reason it was happy is because the land, this adobe had been condemned after the Loma Prieta earthquake in 1989, and it was uninhabited. And then they got a $2 million state parks grant and restored the whole thing. So I think that the ghost was happy because her home had been restored. But what was special also about this two-story adobe is it was in Santa Cruz County. It was the only two-story adobe, and the second floor was a fandango hall. You know what a fandango dancer is? It's like the lady with the big dress, and she spins around while the guy plays a fast guitar.
Yeah.
Called a fandango dancer.
Yes.
Well, back in the 1850s, that's what was on the second floor. It was a dance hall. So that was Party Central. Yeah. They didn't have rock stars. They had fandango dancers, right?
That was the place to go.
So it had all this happiness energy in it already, and it's kind of like it was brought back. That's what I like to think. So I think it was a good experience.
Yeah. So do you still have all? Do you still have all these photos?
Do I have what?
Do you still
All
have?
the
Do you
photos.
still have the photographs?
Oh yeah, sure. I'd be happy to send them to you if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, that'd be great. And then I'll
Yeah.
put them on. I can put them on the website.
No
I'll put
problem.
'em yeah, be easy
Yeah.
for me to put them on the website.
Yeah. So after the show, just send me an email with a list of the things.
Yeah.
Okay, or
Yeah.
I'll forget
No,
some,
that's
I'm
great.
sure.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I'll be editing for about an hour after this anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah. So just
Yeah.
whenever you're ready, let me know.
Yeah. No, thank
Yeah.
you for that. It's
Hey,
just so, of
Andy, can I
Yeah.
ask him a quick archaeology question?
course you can. Fire away.
So, the pyramids, like the ones in Egypt, do you think they had access back then to that, like anti-grav that you found technology, and that's how they were able to get the stones there?
Well, I have an alternative hypothesis for that. No aliens, no anti-gravity was necessary. What built the pyramids was beer.
Beer.
And I have proof. They found they did archaeological digs on the worker villages, and they found that they were paid. A pyramid builder was paid about a gallon of beer a day. That's how they got paid. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. Now think about it. If all your workers are drunk and happy, and you got to realize that was their main source of nutrition too. Plus, you couldn't drink the water; it was polluted. So, problem solved.
Give him beer, keep him happy, keep him working.
Yeah, I
And
guess
so they were professionals. They were paid professionals. They weren't slaves. There were no slaves.
so maybe that explains those signs will work for beer.
Yeah.
So it's like other interesting thing like that I've been asked is people will show me a petroglyph of some like a deer or something with the arrow through it in the rock, on the surface of the rock, and they'll say, "Oh, this is a deep religious thing," and I go, "Dude, that's a street sign."
It's funny.
Humans like to categorize stuff. It's just our nature, okay?
Yeah.
We make up all these grandiose reasons for random stuff. It's just it's the nature of humanity. And all I'm saying is that's all good. Just, be compassionate and look for some evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where my boss is going wrong.
And if you do that, it really helps with your relationship too. I'll tell you.
It helps with sleeping
because it applies to everything in life.
Yeah. Drink. Forget you. You'll forget you've even worked.
Right. Exactly. That's the thing. Yeah. It's not work anymore. You're doing it for fun.
Yeah.
And then if you get some money, wow, that's really great. It's like some of the lawsuits that I won.
On top of all the bill.
I won, and they paid me they gave me a go away check, right? Because it's the government. I'm not gonna try and get a bunch of money out of them, because then I'm like picking my own pocket.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're paying the taxes to get your money back. To get money from them.
Okay, you're gonna give me $1 million and then charge my neighbor.
I'll say, I'll just go around his house and ask him to write a check.
Yeah, not only that, but our government, you get the check from them, and then they'll turn around and go, "Okay, now we're going to tax you on it, so you really only get this like $10 out of it."
I was watching this thing where they were saying everything was owned by the Queen. They just didn't want anyone to know. In the UK, everything's owned by the Queen or the King now, right?
Well, do you know, it probably is.
No, probably about it. and you can't sue them either because they have what's called sovereign immunity.
Right. Yeah.
And what's interesting about that is this property, this lady, Martina Castro, she had a land grant from the governor of Mexico.
Right.
When it was part of California. Well, part of Mexico, right?
Right.
California was part of Mexico. It was a huge state. It went there. The northern part was called Alta California, and the southern part was called Baja California. And the capital was in Monterrey. The city of Monterrey was the state capital.
Yeah.
And in 1846, some disgruntled Mexicans and Yankees took over the state capital in what was called the Bear Flag Rebellion, where California was going to be an independent state like Texas. But the Mexican government basically walked away and left them there, and about 3 or 4 months later, they all went home. So
yeah, that one fizzled.
But then that was the beginning of the Mexican-American War. So in 1848, we signed the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo with Mexico, and that's when California became part of the United States. But all those lands that were land granted, they weren't covered by sovereign immunity anymore. So that meant that the government, like the government in the UK, couldn't claim ownership over those lands because they didn't have those people. It was a different sovereign that preceded the United States. So that's what you need. You need to find some places in the UK that were stolen.
Yeah, that shouldn't be too hard.
Well,
that would be a great lawsuit.
You'd never win. There's no point.
It doesn't matter. It's on their permanent record.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd still won't win. There'd be no point. I'd end up owing them.
Well, like I said, winning is a social construct, like reward punishment.
Yeah.
We're doing it for well-being, or what is it? The sowing of the spirit as opposed to the flesh.
Yeah. Right. We are nearly at the halfway mark. So can we do 2 quick questions?
Sure.
And then we'll have a break. Is that okay?
Sounds great.
Right. So these are both from Deborah Singleton, who should be the co-host but isn't feeling well. So here we go. The first one. What type of system does Michael think UFOs use to travel?
Okay, they're using space-time metric engineering, which is essentially it's a type of gravitational propulsion. It doesn't have fuel. What it does is it depends. Like, for example, the anti-gravity is created by a pushy force or this negative gravity that's type of gravitomagnetism that's produced by a spinning disk with a bunch of little nanopits on it. Right. And then the opposite, you can produce a pull force, like when the Tic Tac dropped from 30,000 feet down to the surface of the water in like a matter of a second.
Yeah,
that's using the pull force of gravity, which is because it's getting closer to the mass of the Earth.
Right.
So essentially, it's a natural phenomenon. It's something that we can harness like electric power. It's just that's what it uses for propulsion and for anti-gravity.
Right. Thank you. Yep. Perfect. And second part to that question, she'd like to know, where do you think they come from?
Well, I think that some come from the past and some come from the future.
Yeah, sorry.
The Greys are us from the future.
Yeah,
and the reptilians or draconians, as some call them, are from the past.
Yeah, sorry. As I put it up and read it out, I thought he's answered that twice already.
It's okay. This is just my hypothesis.
A third time won't matter. I think they're just testing you to make sure it's the same answer.
I'm
each time.
consistent. my karmic delusions are very consistent.
Right.
Nickname has a good one, Andy, if you want to ask that one. About the secret space programs.
Where's that? Because I can't see that.
It came in at 253. It's up in the list, up a bit. But
Mike, read it.
Nickname says, "What does Michael B know about the secret space programs?"
Why can't I see that?
Well, my hypothesis is the secret, as I said earlier, is it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I have a consistent answer to that question too.
Right.
If it did work, and just add on, if it did work, they probably stole it from someone else.
Probably.
And if it's aliens, I'm in luck because they can't get a patent on the alien technology because it's not theirs.
So what about all this reverse engineering? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know an example of where we've reverse engineered anything.
Right.
Do you know of any evidence for any reverse engineered anything reverse engineered by our government?
Only what they've said. Only what has been said they've done.
Yeah, like the flip phones.
Well, yeah, I think they stole that from Star Trek. That's an obvious giveaway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like these so-called UFO crashes where they've gone in, they've got the craft and they've reversed engineered.
Are you talking about the weather balloons they found out in New Mexico?
Yes, the weather balloon. That was it.
One that left a huge debris trail.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, unless I can see some actual evidence, I mean, I feel compassionate towards. I really would like to know what evidence they have for any of that, and if they I've seen like pictures of so-called materials from metamaterials from supposed UFOs.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a physicist and an engineer. I'd have to actually look at it, take it and put it under my electron microscope, do a measurement of X-ray emissions, figure out what the chemical composition was, put it in my X-ray fluorescence spectrometer to measure the chemical compositions. And then I would probably, shoot some X-rays at it to see what the crystal structure was, if any.
Yeah.
Do transmission electron microscope measurements to look at the atomic lattice, at the nanometer scale, what's actually going on. If it's a metamaterial, I mean, I should be able to see this stuff. If there's isotopes there that are unusual, I should be able to detect all of that. And I should be able to put a little report together and show it where I can write a peer-reviewed paper and have it published in a scientific journal. Because that's what I do with my stuff. My invention, before I had my patent granted, I had a paper I wrote in 1998 that was published in 1999, and it's referenced in my patent, because you see, it's not so much based on when you file the patent, but when it's first published.
Right. Okay.
And so when I looked there's this other guy, what's his name? Salvador Pius. He's this Navy physicist that basically he put out all these patents and stuff. And I felt a little concerned because he was talking about spinning discs and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I'm not really concerned because he didn't do that in 98. He did it way after there. You follow?
Right. Okay.
So, and plus he gave all his rights to the Navy for some odd reason. I don't know why. And he would give the government it for nothing.
Maybe they asked him politely.
Yeah, well, maybe they asked him politely. That's true.
Yeah.
Maybe they said, "Please, can we have that?
Yeah.
We need that."
You never know.
Which
You never
that
know.
would be good, and I'd be totally cool with that if he did it. If he did it voluntarily, it's all good with me. You know, it's all about well-being here.
It's probably more of a, please, can we have this before we're forced to take it from you?
Well, no, you see, if he didn't give it to him, he wouldn't have got the funding he needed.
Well, that's true too.
Right?
Yeah.
He needed something too. So
yeah. They might have said please in a really nice voice.
Yeah, please.
You never know. Yeah.
And then when he got it, he said, "Thank you so much. I appreciate it." Which is cool, you know? Wouldn't that be great if that's how everything with the government worked?
Yeah. Double whammy. Please and thank you. Right. On that note, then, we're going to take a 4-minute break.
Okay.
And then we've still got a load more questions coming through.
Sounds good.
If it's all right, if anyone's got any questions for Michael Kopf as well, if you don't mind, if that's all right with Michael Boyd.
Sure.
There's just one that I need to put up from Joe Weeks for Michael K. And can you tell him I loved his last show?
Thank you, Joe.
So there you go.
Oh, and Andy, I have one for you. Carla says to say hello. She couldn't chat in the group. She couldn't find it. So she said, make sure tell Andy I say hello.
Hello back. Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, it doesn't always show up on YouTube. Like the stream that's coming on. And that's why I always put it in the Facebook group. But
so are we on break now, or are we?
We just.
Okay, because I'm going to go use the bathroom.
Yeah, that's fine. We're going to go on a break now anyway. So,
okay.
Yeah, hello,
good
back.
timing.
Yeah, we'll see you in 4 minutes.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And we are back.
Yeah.
Everyone
We all made
right?
it.
Everyone have enough time to do what they needed to do?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, I just sat here doing nothing, so it was all right. Right. Okay, so we've got some more questions. So if we jump straight onto them, is that okay?
Certainly.
Sure.
Right. So Joe Weeks would like to know, has Michael seen any cryptids? And if so, which ones?
I don't believe so.
No.
What does he mean by cryptid?
So like Bigfoot, Dogman.
No, but where I live is Bigfoot territory.
Is it?
Yeah, big time. In fact, in Felton, the town of Felton near me, they have a Bigfoot museum.
All right. So what area are you in?
I'm in Santa Cruz County.
Yeah.
Which I'm south of Santa Cruz about 3 or 4 miles.
Is that California?
In California, yeah, Santa Cruz, California, and it's Santa Cruz is famous for its beach boardwalk.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So, and it's been a major resort community in California since the 1820s.
Oh, right.
And if memory serves right, it's on the southern side of California, correct?
No, it's in the northern California.
Oh, it is in the north?
It's actually more in the middle. So in the middle of California is the Monterey Bay.
Right.
Right.
And the northern side of the Monterey Bay is where Santa Cruz is. The southern side of the Monterey Bay is where Monterey is. Now, Monterey used to be the state capital, like I said. In the north, where Santa Cruz was, though, they wanted to be more like European. Well, they were both Europeans, Spanish, just different parts. They wanted to be more Anglo, I guess would be the way to put it. Angloized. Yeah. The houses in Monterey are Pueblo style. They got like Spanish style, red Spanish tile roofs.
Oh, right, yeah, and the white walls.
In Santa Cruz, the 1800 houses look like Victorians from the East Coast.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and essentially the Europeans discriminated against each other. Right? Wow. The Yankees or the Anglos didn't like the Spanish. And they treated them like they were like different races.
Yeah.
They were basically the race is a social construct, and one of them karmic delusions, right? And so, and it's funny, and I guess in the also in the 1800s, they treated the Irish like black people in America.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, so I mean, it's just kind of weird. Our culture is kind of weird.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, just going back. So, do you believe what are your beliefs on like Bigfoot and Sasquatch? What's your take on it all?
I think there are more probability of them existing than aliens, for example.
Right.
Because I have studied primates, and they have a culture too. For example, you know, we have the gorilla.
Yeah.
And then we have the we have the chimpanzees, right?
Yeah.
And then we have the bonobo. You've heard of the bonobo?
Yeah,
Okay,
Right.
and then
I have, but I'm not sure what it is.
now, but do you know what sexual dimorphism is? It's not a disease.
It
No.
kind of sounds like from morphism that it's something that changes.
Yeah, it changes sex.
Exactly. So sexual dimorphism is
So,
a good
like the
example
oyster.
of in anthropology is the gorilla.
Right.
Okay, the gorilla male is huge. Okay, and the female is about the size of a chimpanzee female.
Right.
So, and that's an example of sexual dimorphism. Now, this large size of in the gorillas, they have what's called an alpha male, and he has a harem of females. And if you watch the mating rituals of gorillas, it kind of looks like rape. Okay,
right.
That's how. And then let's. But the weird thing about it is, gorillas are vegetarian; they don't eat any meat. So that suggests that the huge size of the male gorilla is a social and cultural adaptation to get laid.
Yeah.
Right. Now the same thing happens with the chimpanzee. There's a male dominant male called a alpha male, but chimpanzees they do eat meat and they have territories. And if a male from a different territory comes into their territory, they'll kill it.
Yeah.
And they actually walk in around the boundary of their territories in a group. And basically, that's they're into violence, and their sexual strategy also appears to be like rape when you watch it. Okay,
right.
And so basically, use a dominance. This dominance culture is shared between the gorillas and the chimpanzees. Now let's go to the bonobo. The bonobo is different. And the bonobos are both the same. The male and the female are basically the same size.
Right.
And they don't, but they have alpha females. And they don't use violence. They use sex for social cohesion. So in other words, if a male gets upset, they have sex with it. The females will have sex with it, and basically they don't have any of these traits, but all three are what are called promiscuous.
Yeah. Only
the baboon is monogamous. That's the only primate that I know that's monogamous. Yeah. So, but the thing is, this is culture. We think of it as, dominance culture is something that affects other primates. For example, the chimp and the gorilla. Okay, but it has nothing to do with strength. It has to do with procreation.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of interesting that we think that we're special. Right, but in our culture we have sexual dimorphism too. Right.
Yeah,
males are bigger than females, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, most of the time. Well, I guess it depends on where you are. It depends, right? That's the right answer.
So going back to like the Bigfoot and that, do you think that
it's a possible
concept is the same as like with the gorillas and the apes?
Yes, they're primates and they have cultural adaptations. Now, what makes what's curious about the chimp and the gorillas and the bonobos is they're all live in the same region of in the Congo. Okay. And like the chimps and the bonobos live on opposite sides of the Congo River.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that really separates them. But they're not like us. So we have this other adaptation called plasticity. It's like the
Right.
word plastic. Human plasticity is what gave us the adaptive strategy so that we could find our own niche in multiple different environments, from the equator to the Arctic and the Antarctic, and survive and procreate.
Yeah.
So that's what, if anything, that's our gift and possibly our curse too.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. Got another one from Nickname. Oh, wait. Ah, there we go. So does Michael know of any classified information that should be out?
Definitely. Everyone should know what doesn't work. So that we don't dump any more money into it. Because I've discovered that the government is really good at spending other people's money with very little accountability for what they spend it on.
Yeah.
And I think it would be helpful to the world's well-being if the government was more open about what it doesn't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not asking them to tell me what they do know. I'm asking them to tell what they don't know. And actually, when those 3 videos came out, I think that's why they were released, is because there's a lot of people within the government that feel the same way I do. And essentially those videos showed stuff that they didn't know what it was. And they basically came out of the closet about the fact that they didn't know.
Yeah. So can you share anything that we're not supposed to know?
Not without making sure that it's declassified now.
Right. No, fair enough. I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, we don't need Men in Black showing up on your door.
No.
Well, the thing is, since I still got active lawsuits against the federal government, I don't think they'll be doing that. But maybe.
Yeah, it is the federal government.
Hopefully one day we'll get something. Right. Next one. I kind of asked you this before. Sorry, Deb, I didn't see it. What are your thoughts on cryptids such as Bigfoot, Dogman, reptilians? So, well, let's go to reptilians, because you said about the Dogman and Bigfoot.
The hypothesis for reptilians again is that they're from the past. They're time travelers from Earth's past.
Yeah.
And again, the Greys are time travelers from Earth's future.
Right.
So you think that's why they're so hard to get in photographs? Is we're catching them going back in time, and so the camera can't focus on that?
Well, the reptilians are the narrative is that they're shapeshifters, and that they're essentially the world's governments.
Right.
That everybody that has power is and now I don't really go that far now. Maybe there's, they found that so-called white people and so-called Asian people, that they have 6 to 7% Neanderthal DNA.
Right.
And so-called African ethnicity people don't have that. So if why wouldn't there be a possibility of having a higher percentage of reptilian DNA? That seems feasible to me.
So,
and how would you test for it? Again, is there evidence for it that supports that there are so-called reptilian humans?
Could it be hiding in our junk DNA, as they call it?
Yeah, good question.
Could be. So what? So with these reptilians, you said like they pretty much control the government and the banks and all that.
That's the narrative.
Yeah, yeah. What are your personal thoughts on that? What do you actually believe?
Do I think the banks control the world? Yes. Do I think they're
Yeah.
reptilians? Probably not. I think they're just humans
Right.
that are really hung up on their stuff. They like stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, money's a cultural construct, just like race. It's not real. It's interesting because I was researching for one of my classes this event about 1,000 years ago. It was called the medieval climate anomaly. The Earth got really hot, and it was all over the world. Now in California and in the Americas, they had a currency based on these little shell beads. There's olivella shell, and they would cut it and make little beads out of it, and that was money for the native peoples. And they found these shell beads all over the Americas, South America, in Alaska. And basically that's how, when you look in the burial sites in the what they call the archaeological record, they'll find burials where all these beads are there. So the rich Indians thought they could take it with them.
Yeah.
So now what they did is some research on violence, cultural violence, basically and what they found is that this climate anomaly lasted like 350 years. The first 150 years, everything was great. Because California is kind of like a whole nation. It's got mountains and deserts.
Yeah.
Everything is in California. So what happened is the first 150 years, everything was thriving and going great. And then about 180 years in, they started having some what do you call drought situations, and it was real hot. And then they started having social collapse. And then we could see in the archaeological record that these people that were wealthy, that they were getting murdered. We found, mass graves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it just showed that at some point, the have-nots started killing the haves.
Right.
And it was around this. And money was a big part of it, because they had actually this mint on one of the Channel Islands where they had this special rock called chert, and they would capture women from the other tribes and make them slaves and take them over into to this island to make make the money. Yeah. And they had this these guys, they're called the Chumash. They had these big boats called tamols, and these guys were real short, but they had huge pecs and big muscly arms, right? And, but they were real short, and so they actually had the first longshoremen's union. It was called the Brotherhood of the Tamol.
Right.
That was the actual name of it. But basically, this mint operated for 2,500 years in the Americas.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because I used to live in New York City, and Manhattan was bought by the Dutch from the tribe there for about $20 in glass beads.
Yeah.
Which is funny because they thought they were, of course, taking advantage of the natives, right?
Yeah.
But from the natives' perspective, they were taking advantage of the Dutch because they were getting all this cash for for the swampland.
Right.
Right. So it's kind of funny how culture works that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking about cultures, what's your opinion on what happened with the Anasazi?
The Anastasi were part of the. So in the Mayan Aztec have a this calendar. You've probably seen it. It's called the Aztec Sunstone Calendar.
Right.
And it has 13 glyphs on it.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Aztec Mayans, they believed in a cyclical universe. And they had like that calendar represented what they called 5 suns. Okay. And there was, and that it covered 104,000 years. And so basically one of the cycles of immigration was the Anasazi is the point I'm trying to make. So basically there are many immigration cycles in the Americas over its history. And we know that humans go back at least 30,000 years in the Americas right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't believe in really my view of the cosmography is of the universe is that it's a forever universe and we live in a cyclical universe. So it's kind of like a black hole is the point of origin and the point of departure of everything. So in our galaxy, in the center of our galaxy, there's black holes, and then there's what's called an event horizon around the black hole, and then there's an outer event horizon too at the edge, right? So if you look at a galaxy, for example, it has an outer edge and an inner.
Yeah.
So that's basically the structure of our universe too.
Okay.
All right.
It's part of what I call the cosmic recycling program.
So I guess everything gets
but
recycled.
Don't get stuck in the garbage disposal.
No.
It just fascinates me, their story, because it's like they're there and then they just disappear. It's like there's no record of where they went, what happened to them. It's like they were there and then they were gone. It's like one of those great mysteries.
Just everything. That's how everything works, is what I'm saying.
Right.
You're there and then you're gone.
Yeah.
You come in naked and go out the same way. So
yeah,
it's that stuff that we get stuck with worrying about stuff. Instead of having a good time. We got to worry about having a good time while we're here and stop worrying about our stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You come in with nothing, you go out with nothing.
Yeah.
So
what are we going to do when we're here? Are we going to worry or are we going to have a good time? You get a choice.
Hopefully we have a good time without worrying.
Now, what happens, though, if you start to worry about having a good time?
I think that you're stuck in what is it? That Bill Murray movie again.
The
Groundhog
Day.
Yeah. Right.
It's an endless loop.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. I've got a question for you about archaeology.
Okay.
What is the strangest thing you've found or discovered, you personally?
Oh, let's
or
see.
Or the team that you were working with at the time?
Here. I got something I found. Here's the coolest thing I found. I don't know if you can see it here. Let's see here. Okay, see this?
Yep.
Rock?
If you go there, stop there.
That rock there is called a biface.
Right.
Okay, and so this is a lithic. What they call lithic. So it's like what's cool about it is this was made probably about 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
I found this out in the desert. when I was working on a job, and I put it in my pocket and showed the
Yeah.
boss, and I forgot about it.
So you kept it.
So, but it's pretty cool. You can see the edge there, how it's kind of worked.
Right.
So I'd say that's probably the coolest thing I ever found. I did find I did find a human bone once, but I can't show that to you. That's against the law. And I don't have it anymore anyway. So, but because I took a class in forensic archaeology, I could tell what part of which bone it was.
Right.
So, but, and I think human bones are really cool. I used to be afraid of them because I thought, oh, bad. But, they're actually pretty cool.
Yeah. So how long does it take? So if you find human remains, how long does it take to date them?
Well, it depends on what you do. You need to do dating techniques is you need carbon. And the main source you get for carbon is charcoal.
Yeah.
So what you do is you look for some charcoal around where the burial is.
Right. Okay.
And then you send it to a lab and they do what's called carbon-14 dating. Now, if it's recent, though, that doesn't work. Because,
that was my next
because
question.
of the atomic testing that was done in the 50s have contaminated the data. Right?
Right.
So you can't do carbon-14 after those tests.
Right.
Because it screwed up the graph.
Yeah. So how do you find out if it is recent, say a few years or even a few months? Is it just
months,
with the
then it's more likely
the quality of the quality of the find, I suppose.
Yeah, but I don't. In archaeology, we don't deal with the rotting flesh part.
Right.
Yeah, that's more the police.
we just deal with the bones, and if we find a burial, the first thing we do is call the coroner. That's what the law says, and then the coroner comes and says, "Oh, you think these are old bones? Okay, see ya."
So you just need him to confirm it, and then he goes.
Well, they want to make sure it's not a recent murder victim or somebody's dinner or whatever.
Somebody's just happened to have been put there.
Yeah. So
for unknown reasons.
But the one when I found they'd already identified a burial site near there, so it wasn't like that. It was just like, hello.
So the bones themselves don't tell us anything. It's everything around the bones.
Exactly. So if you're walking on the ground and you find one of these laying on the surface, go ahead and collect it because it's what's called an isolate. It has no context or provenience, as it's called, to what's associated with it around it. Exactly. So what the best thing is, you want to find a burial in situ, it's called.
Yeah.
And then what they do is they basically in so many centimeters at a time, they take off a layer, and anything they find in that layer, they put it in a bag and they label it from this layer, right?
Right.
And it basically a unit has a 1 meter by 1 meter square, 1 meter deep. And in prehistoric, they use centimeters, and historic, they use inches in America.
Ah, right.
So
it's a bit like the UK. You use both at the same time, and it's just.
Oh, yeah, it's real cool when there's 2.54 centimeters in an inch.
Yeah, it's measurements over here so weird. Because at school, I was taught both. I was imperial and metric.
Yeah, me too.
And now it's just I don't even know what they use anymore.
So when I was doing the hard drive stuff, they measure the distance from the head slider to the surface of the disk in micro inches, or 1 times 10 to the minus 6 inches.
Yeah.
So there's 2.54 nanometers in a microinch.
Right.
I think, Andy, they just go with whatever sounds good at the time.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think what we do over here, if it's a large item, they'll do it in inches or feet. But if
Right.
it's small, then it's centimeters and millimeters.
Right.
So I think it's dependent on the size. So
Yeah, well,
and that's what I'm going with, and
it's
that's what
just
I do.
and
So,
again, it's just a social construct.
yeah.
I think it also goes with who's measuring it.
It's like money.
Yeah.
If I'm measuring it, it's going to be in inches. If you're measuring it, probably centimeters and millimeters.
I think we're
guessed.
the only species that can quantify our own karmic delusions. We actually can measure our delusions.
Yeah.
I think I've got a book of them somewhere. Oh, right. Moving on to another question. It's one that I was going to ask. Joe Weeks has asked it as well. So, obviously, with you doing the archaeology and everything, I'll put the question up, but I'm going to word it slightly different to how Joe's asked it. So she says, does Michael think dinosaurs lived? Now, can I just change the question a little bit?
Sure.
What's your knowledge on dinosaurs? Did they exist how we were taught they lived on Earth? Or are we looking at something completely different to what we actually know?
Depends. So dinosaurs are all around us.
Yeah.
Does any one of you own a budgie?
No.
A parrot?
Nope.
Joe Weeks has got a parrot.
There you go. That's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
That's what dinosaurs became.
Right.
So dinosaurs definitely existed and they still do.
Okay.
And most people, when you talk about dinosaurs, they think of a lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The scaly.
But lizards are cold-blooded. If you have a bird and you had it sit on your finger, you know that bird was warm-blooded.
Yeah.
Okay. Dinosaurs were warm-blooded. They weren't slow-moving, they were fast-moving.
Yeah.
So dinosaurs lived and are living.
Right.
And now this now here's some of the dilemmas that create. Now, do you believe in angels?
I do.
Okay, so now angels have wings, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that makes them reptilians.
Some have wings. But
So
yeah.
if you believe in angels, you believe in reptilians.
Yeah.
Right.
Because to have feathers, you have to be reptilian.
So let me ask you this, son. Like, we were taught growing up, like, say the Velociraptor was scaly. Now they're saying, well, actually, now that they've done more studies, that it actually had feathers.
Yeah.
And color.
Multicolored feathers.
And color. And the males had more color than the females. Guess why? Sexual dimorphism.
Yeah. Well, it's like that's what it's like now, though, isn't it? The males are more colourful than the females.
Yeah, the peacock.
To attract the female.
Sure, to get laid.
Yeah. Well, it's like even ducks, even like the mallard duck. The female is just like brown and speckly.
Yeah.
The male's got the green head and the
he's the hot-looking one.
Strip around the neck and the white and all these multitude of colours.
Oh,
and
sexy.
It's all to do. I know it's all to do with attraction.
Yeah, has nothing to do with dominance.
No.
I'm also a little curious, though. What's your thoughts about how, like, say, the Jurassic Park movies, all of them show, like, the raptors being extremely high intelligent, almost equal or smarter than we are.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that you
well,
think something true?
that's definitely true because I have a cat and my cat's definitely more intelligent. I think cats are the most intelligent species on Earth because I empty my cat's cat box and feed it and wait on it day and night.
Yeah.
That's intelligence.
Yeah, it's turned you into a servant.
I actually had that conversation the other day. We do so much for cats, and they just carry on like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, we're like politicians to them. We're supposed to be servants.
Yeah. So back to the dinosaurs. So like Michael was saying, like I can't even pronounce it, but the
Raptor.
Yeah, the
Velociraptor.
So,
yeah.
But it's like with the T-Rex and the Stegosaurus and all that. Did they exist, and did they exist on how we think they look?
Well, we kind of made them black and white without any color or feathers, but yeah, we looked at. It's kind of like looking at a cat. Those cats that don't have any fur.
Yeah,
that's how we see. But if you put the fur on them, wow, they're a beautiful color, right? But
yeah,
it's the same with dinosaurs. We just took off their feathers so that, and that's what we're seeing. And so they don't. The morphology is probably way off, is my guess.
Yeah. So how was the feathered part found? How did they realize that these dinosaurs had feathers and wasn't just?
Well, they found the dinosaurs were trapped, encapsulated in a rock matrix, and the feather pattern was still in the matrix.
Right.
That's how they could tell.
Yeah.
And then they actually found some where there was some color, there was some pigment. So some of them they could actually put pigments on.
Right. Okay.
On it, but there's very little evidence because we're talking millions, 100 million years ago, that kind of stuff. So it's a long time ago.
Right.
Oh. Never knew that.
So I think there's nothing new under the sun. Put it that way.
Right. Okay.
Interesting question. Talking about like the dinosaurs and everything and how we're viewing them. Like the T-Rex with the really short arms. It's an alpha predator. Does they really have those short, stubby arms, or is that just something we made up to make ourselves feel like we have a shot?
That's an excellent question. I always wondered about them stubby arms too.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. You got this huge predator, tiny little arm.
Maybe they were part of their mating ritual. I don't know.
Yeah, because there's none of the others that have got little arms, small arms. They've all got either quadrupedal or bipedal, and then
well, you got to remember they got a tail too,
right?
Yeah.
No, they actually got 5 appendages.
Yeah,
because they probably could use their
wicked.
tails.
Yeah, it just seemed like you say with the
the reason that they had to develop the tail was so when they were running for balance. It basically, if you think about it, they got those big legs and they're running really fast. And I wonder with the T-Rex if they basically didn't use the arms.
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
Kind of like it just seems like kind of like your appendix. They use them so there's a little vestige left there.
Yeah.
Or like
no,
I
said, just maybe saying like with.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say, we saying like with the tail and that, I'm just picturing like a kangaroo.
Oh yeah.
Because the way they balance on their tail, they actually lift themselves up, and obviously their upper arms, they're big, but they're not that big compared to the rest of them.
Yeah, it's
the rest
true.
of the body. So
maybe Mike's right. We don't have a good representation of the arms.
Yeah, because it just seems strange to me when you look at like raptors. They got normal like arms, like we would consider normal. All the predators have these arms that they can reach out and scratch with.
Yeah.
But the T-Rex is like, yeah, I could just stand here and you ain't touched me with those arms.
But they only had 3 fingers is the other thing.
Right.
So, but like cats have 5 fingers.
Yeah.
Like humans. Dogs don't. So
no, I think dogs have 4, don't they?
4.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah. Because doesn't the cat, the 5th one is slightly to the back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they got 4 here, and then there's like
close
one
to the opposable thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the foot. That's the way it is. The 5th is way in the back. On the cat's foot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I was just trying to think.
But the forearms are very close to humans with 5 digits. So it's kind of cool.
Yes.
It is.
But like I said, they're highly intelligent.
Yeah. Right. We've got 10 minutes left and we've got 6 questions.
Go for it.
Can we do it?
Let's try. Let's go for it.
Let's go. Right. So next one is from Ancient Ruby. Is Michael going to take the light when his turn comes?
I think she's meaning when you pass on or transition.
It was a polite way.
Well, it depends on if I deal with my karmic delusions or not, I would argue. Right now, I'm still having a problem with them.
So, if
I deal with them, but is it gonna? The question is, am I coming back, or am I going to the void?
Yeah,
likely I'm coming back.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think at
what about
this world, I'd go for the void.
Would you?
I don't know. I think I'd like to come back as a cat myself.
With 6 fingers. With 6 fingers and little arms. And just mess everything up.
Be like, can I have a couple feathers on the edge of my tail?
That's going to work out good for me, I can tell. And I'll talk, and they'll put me in the sideshow. And I'll show up on your podcast.
Right. Next question is from Rick Allen. He would like to know, do you believe in God?
Yeah, I do, but I think God's a she.
Okay.
Because, I was brought up Catholic.
Right.
And, Catholics believe in the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
Right? So if Mary's a virgin and Jesus is the Son of God, God's a she.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that creates a conundrum. Because you see, in genetics, we learn that you need to have a Y chromosome to have a boy. But girls only have the X's. So that means God's a she, or Jesus was trans.
Or genetically manipulated.
She's a she.
Because
safer. No, I don't know.
But you have a choice.
Well,
You can always say it was test tube grown in a lab.
But then what?
Because you can be whatever you want nowadays.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, not even going there with that one.
I'm with you on that one, Andy.
We'll leave that. We'll leave that for another show.
Yeah. Right. I don't want you to lose your funding.
Yeah. Right. Next question from Nickname is, what does Michael Kay think of the grey video? So the video that we played earlier that you sent to me, what's your thoughts on it?
I think it's cool.
I'm guessing, do you think it's genuine or not? Or if it is genuine, was it scripted to say that? Did it?
You know, I don't know if it was
for itself.
But in my opinion, being that it's the first time I've seen it, I would say it's pretty interesting how it's all shadowed around it and you never see the camera like leave its image of it. But I would say whenever it was moving, there was no matrixing, so I could rule out that it's fake there, that it's somebody in behind a backdrop. So I would give high credence to it, and the way it was speaking, it would kind of be like, you know, something who's trying to learn our language. It wasn't using a lot of words. It was like short, concise, not...
Do you not think though it sounded a bit mechanical? Not in a bad way, not in a way, I believe it was being faked. Just the way that it was speaking, like using our language.
I would say it kind of had a animatronic.
Would you send you the link to the whole video?
Yeah, please. That'd be great.
So put that on your wish list, please.
Yes, will do. I'll have to get a book and
so go ahead and watch it. And I think it's very realistic looking.
See,
too.
What I
don't know, but I almost, my one concern is it's almost so perfect. It's like a cartoon.
Yeah,
right.
That's
I've watched it quite a few times, and what got me was the way the eyes are blinking.
Yeah, me
so
too.
Got the big black eyes, but then you've got the cover that, whether it's the eyelid or protective sheet or whatever, I don't know what it is. The way it keeps coming over. What I'll do, I'll do the last 3 questions, and then I'll play that as the outro video.
Okay.
So then we can get one last look at it.
Okay.
That's right. That question's already been asked. When Michael comes to pass, will he take the light? That's done. Nickname, would like to know infrared. Where did that come from? Do you know?
Was first developed during the Vietnam War.
Right.
They developed it because the helicopters would be flying over the jungle looking for the Viet Cong, and they needed a way to see them below the canopy. So that let them see the thermal signature of their bodies, so that they could basically blow them away. So it was,
I was going to say,
using technology for cultural violence.
Yeah, I was going to say, hasn't infrared always been in the spectrum? It's just we needed technology to see the spectrum.
Yeah, to find it.
Right. Well, infrared is a detector is just the opposite of a laser. A laser, you put electricity in, and it causes an electron to jump to a higher energy level, and when it falls back down, it emits a photon of light of a characteristic frequency. That's what a laser does. A detector does the opposite. The light comes in, excites the electron, and then that creates an electrical signal that's converted into an image.
Right.
Cool.
Right. Last question then. Michael, other Michael, Kay, have you got any more?
No, I think I'm kind of, everything's been asked.
I know, there's been really good questions tonight. Right, the last one then is from Joe Weeks, and she would like to know, where do you think the cryptids come from?
It's for you, Mike.
I kind of have a theory. I don't know, that I always feel like they're either inner Earth or from interdimensional, because they always seem to appear and disappear in they never leave tracks of where they're going to be found, like nests or anything. And so that's why I give credence to them being more of like interdimensional, or they have ways of getting into like the inner earth that we just don't know about, because there's like little evidence, if you don't physically see it, that they were there. What creatures can do that? Because everything we do, we leave a trail, we leave a mark. It's like we have homes we go to. And a lot of nature animals have.
I hear they do that, but it's just they stink. They smell really bad. They got bad BO.
Well, it's like I did an investigation on Wednesday night and was there for about an hour. It was in a local churchyard. There's quite a lot of like countryside around it, a few houses. It's only in a little village. We could hear something like walking in the bushes and that, but we couldn't see anything. And it wasn't until we was finishing that this ginger cat just come out, and we're guessing that. I thought it was a fox at first, but then we could hear it, but we could never see it. And this churchyard was probably only, say, 30 square meters at the most. So if we can't see a cat, there was two of us doing it, and was, like I said, was live streaming it, and no one else could see it on the thing. That's just one cat, and that's a domestic pet. So if a cat has the ability to do that, why isn't something bigger that is that can go to like these big national parks that you've got in America that are hundreds of square miles? Can exist there and no one ever see them. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that if my cat doesn't want me to find it, I can't find it. So and so what I'm suggesting is the cryptids are more intelligent than my cat.
Yeah. I do. I really do. Because for us not to see them, and then when we do see them, is that they want us to see them, or they just happen to think there's no one about, and then they step out from wherever they are, and it's like, oh, too late. I've been seen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
They can also be using portals, because we have triangles where people disappear without a trace, but then appear somewhere else miles away.
Yeah.
So it's a glitch in the matrix.
Right.
Yeah. But then it's like, is there a lot of UFO reports where these Bigfoot are seen as well? That's becoming very popular.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to be stuck on a UFO with one of them stinky creatures. Would you?
Are they piloting it? Are they like they're picking up and dropping them and using them as scouts?
They need a bath.
Well, yeah. that might be what they're looking for, just clean water.
Yeah.
You never know. But no, it's just it's just there's a lot of things that, as you know, can hide in plain sight. So why couldn't one of not even just one, a group of them just be around the corner from where you are, and you'd never know? That's just my thoughts. So
yeah, there's a lot of things we don't know about, and we're discovering all the time.
Yeah.
And
it will.
There's a lot more than we know out there still, that's for sure. We know more about the surface of the moon than we do our own oceans.
Yeah.
That's why I like that show Sequest. That was back in the day. They were like, yeah, we know the certain space, we get that, but here's the true last frontier.
Oh yeah,
that's in the water.
And a lot of those UAPs have been sighted in association with water bodies. So.
Yeah, right.
Well, that was the next thing. I just, because we've run out of time. But do you think that we're not going into the oceans because they know, or maybe they know, that there are UAP bases down there, or what is it? USO.
USOs.
USOs, that's it. Yeah.
Well,
Is
I
it
think that someone has transmedium technology. That's obvious.
Yeah.
Whose technology it is, that's the mystery right now.
Right.
But
Yeah.
if the government was more open about what they don't know, I think we could find the answer quicker.
Yes.
Yeah, because if we can take glass into space and it just survives, doesn't break, I feel confident it could work underwater.
Yeah.
Well,
That
glass
is a different
actually,
question.
it turns out glass doesn't work well in space for insulation, for like
Right.
an insulator, because what happens is the radiation breaks down the bonds in the glass. So I when I was working at Hughes, I worked on a special insulator called silicon nitride. Si3N4 is the chemical formula.
Right.
And then there's glass is silicon oxide, but it's not like quartz is SiO2. But quartz is a crystal, it has a lattice. Glass is amorphous. So that means it has bonds that are dangling. They're not bonding to anything. So what happens
Right.
when radiation comes in, hits it, it interacts with those dangling bonds and causes it to break down.
Yeah.
And become short. So it's no longer insulative. So yeah, that's part of what they call radiation hardening. Of course, the government developed that, needed to know that for nuking things.
Yeah.
You don't want your insulators to break down at the wrong time, right?
Right.
You can have that. That's broke as well. We won't talk about that either.
Oh, that under top secret.
So again, glass doesn't work.
It's good for looking out of or drinking out of, and that's it. Right. So on that note,
science grand.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Right. We are at the 2-hour mark, so we're going to call it a night, guys. Thank you both so much for coming on.
Yeah,
thank you, Michael Boyd, for being our guest and sharing all your knowledge. Really do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Michael K, for jumping in and covering for Deb as she's not well.
You're welcome, and you're welcome, Deb.
Nice to meet you, Michael K.
Nice to meet you, Michael Boyd.
Okay.
Really do appreciate you both coming on. And
thank you, audience, for the questions.
Yeah. Great
question. So we're gonna end now, and I'll play the Grey video as the outro. If you guys stay on till we go off air, we'll have a quick chat afterwards. So
sure.
Thank you, everyone. Just before I do go, I forgot to tell everyone at the beginning. From now on, I'm doing all live investigations on TikTok because it works so much better. Then what I'm going to do is download it and then upload it back, edit it, put all the pieces together with the intro and outro, and then upload it onto YouTube the week later for those who haven't got TikTok. Does that make sense? So yeah, we did one the other night on, like I said, when we seen the cat, and we had over 700 people watching live. So I think it's the way forward for live investigations.
Very cool.
And the picture was so much clearer. Just everything about it. It just worked a lot better. And don't have to take as much equipment with me as well. The camera just seems to. I can use pretty much most of the settings on the camera on the phone. So yeah, we're doing another investigation on this Wednesday, the 28th at 7:30. So that's going to be TikTok live, and then that will go onto the YouTube channel the following Sunday. So,
and Andy, I can do my version of Deb. No, Andy, I don't know who's on next.
I'll tell you what then, before we go, I'm gonna play this. This is where you have to pretend.
I have no idea.
There you go. So who's on next week? Deborah.
I have no idea.
It's Jack Carey, I think. I have no idea either. I don't actually know.
Wow,
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
first.
I know. Yeah, sorry. It is Jack Carey. And then the week following, we've got Kathleen Marden on. For those that don't know, that's Betty and Barney Hill's niece
Wow.
from the 1950 UFO incident over in the US. So, yeah, that'll be a good one. Right. So, yeah, massive thank you for coming on, guys. So I've just got to... It's so much harder when I'm doing all this on my own because you've not got any of the controls, have you?
Nope.
So I have to do it all. Right. So going to do the outro. So for those that are on TikTok, see you on Wednesday at 7:30. For those that are not, we'll be back here at 8 o'clock next Friday with Jack Carey. So massive thank you to you all and see you guys soon. Take care and good night.
Good night.
Last thing. What about morality? What are you basing your morality on? I see. Okay, illuminate us. What happens when we die? Okay, so let me get this straight. There's no death, and we all experience each other.